So this is the review for the M32 by Opsmen, Earmor, whoever, headset. And I'm going to talk about the good things and the bad things about this headset and describe all the times that I've run it, what types of experiences myself, Eric, who you know obviously for Gun Gamers, Matt Lutz, and a few others. So let's start off with the good. So the first good thing I have to say about this headset is it's very comfortable to wear. The ear cups, they're not gel, but they're not crappy foam. It's like a soft plush leather type of thing. There's a good foam pad that's inside where the speaker is, so when it rides against your ear, it actually doesn't irritate you at all. The ear cup is actually much larger than even than most comparable ones like Z-Tac. So wearing these all day is not a problem at all. In addition to that, the headband here actually has foam lining on the inside of it. So even though it's metal on the inside, it has this nice foam backer that faces you where your head sits. It's very comfortable to wear for a really long period of time. I wore this, the two big games that I'm going to be mentioning throughout this review are Operation Wildlands, which was based on the new Ghost Recon game that we had up at Hunters Creek Airsoft, and Operation Bad Blood, which is at EMR Event Park in Pennsylvania. So wearing these for multiple hours at a time before having to take it off was very, very nice. The previous experience I've had was with these Z-Tacs. As you can see, they have metal on there, but it's just fabric on here. It's just kind of a wrap. It's not very comfortable at all, especially wearing it for long periods of time. These ear cups, they're not gel, but they're really crappy foam, and it's like this plastic liner thing over it, and the speaker doesn't have a ton of foam behind it either. So as far as the M32s, they're very comfy to wear for a long period of time. In addition, the inside of the ear cup, you can see the shape of it here is actually larger than those Z-Tacs that I just had here a moment ago. It's larger, so it stays further away from your ear, and because of that, it makes it way more comfortable to wear for longer periods of time. So this is probably one of the most comfortable headsets I've worn. And I've worn this underneath two different helmets. I've worn it underneath some clone Mitch 2000, which has the protective earpieces. I've worn this underneath that, and I've worn it underneath a JC Airsoft airframe style helmet. Both of them incredibly comfortable to wear for long periods of time. Normally, after wearing the Z-Tacs for a couple hours, I'd like peel it off my head, and I feel so much relief off of my ears and my head after wearing it for long periods of time. With this, I don't have a problem at all. So the next feature and good point that I want to talk about is the noise reduction rating on these. These are NR22, so they're 22 decibel reduction. So I think this is perfect for airsoft because if you have a Thunder Bee or a pyrotechnic grenade go off, those are around 100 decibels, give or take maybe 5 decibels. It's perfect for that because it's going to put you at or below that 85 decibel threshold that OSHA has for hearing loss. Now, to use these for real firearms, I would definitely double up on hearing protection if you're going to use these with real guns. But as far as airsoft is concerned, it's perfect. It cuts just enough noise down that you're not going to get overwhelmed and allows you to think clearly, but it's not too much in the fact that it dulls all your other senses, or it dulls your hearing particularly, where it dulls you to the point where you have zero situational awareness and you're having to rely on your eyes. You still have your hearing capability, and you're not just hearing comms come over it. Next good point I want to talk about is the actual transmission and receiving on this headset. I've had problems with that Z-Tac headset in the fact that A, it's only lasted me a year before I've had to look at it, get a replacement, which was awesome because these came onto the market. But Hearing on this is absolutely fantastic. I run a Baofeng UV5R Plus, and with the Z-Tax, I had to max out the volume in order to even barely hear people. And I had to have the volume amplification, which I'll get to next. I had to have that all the way up in order to hear people. And if somebody was talking right next to me, I could hear whoever was coming over on the radio. This, I have my Baofeng set to less than half as far as volume, and even that might be a little bit much for me. So the speakers in the earpieces are really good. I haven't had any problems with people picking me up on the boom mic either. Now the boom mic actually has a little bit of foam inside here. It's not just hard plastic. So it protects against wind running across it from you, like blowing into it with your own breath and things like that. So that's awesome to have a nice headset that allows you to both hear and speak clearly. In addition to that, the boom mic here is reversible on either side. You simply unplug this plug here, plug it into the other earpiece, and then you just pop off this boom mic and clip it on to the other side. Simple as that. No additional tools necessary to do it. On a couple other replica headsets I've had, you have to use a screwdriver in order to switch sides. And even then, it stays on the same ear. You just flip it either side and you have to turn the whole headset around in order to flip it. With this, your orientation is still the same, regardless of where you put the boom mic, which is nice. Next good point that I want to talk about with this headset is it's IP65 rated. Now, IP65 means it is dustproof and water resistant. The 6 is the maximum level rating for dust, so it means it's dustproof, which makes sense because there's O-rings on the battery covers and there's foam over all the speakers and things like that, so it'd be really tough for dirt to get into it. The 5 in the 65 rating means it's water resistant. And I've used this on 2 very perfect outings to really test this. During Operation Wildlands up at Hunter's Creek, it rained for the better part of the morning. Now, the external microphones here, they get some static problems with them when there's a lot of water going across them, but if it's like a okay rain to like a light mist, you're not going to have any problems at all. That's very welcome because I think the problem with the Z-Tax is I got sweat into the speakers and it started just slowly eating away at the electronics. So you don't have to worry about that with the Opsmen though. Everything is designed to be water resistant as best as possible for the price point. So good on Earmor Opsmen of coming out with a headset that is durable enough. In addition to that, Eric wanted me to read his exact comments on this headset and the IP65 durability rating. He has said that he threw them around a good bit, tearing them off his fucking head while goddamn pieces of shit were fucking hot micing the entire motherfucking goddamn day. Holy fucking shit, I wanted to kill people. Now, I don't remember if this was Wildlands or Bad Blood, but you know Eric, he is very hard on gear. It survived his rough housing perfectly fine. So like I mentioned earlier, these are sound damping and sound amplifying sort of at the same time. So the way that that works is there's 2 microphones on either side. This is common with a lot of different headsets as well, where the quiet sounds less than 85 decibels will be amplified. So it's easier to hear like a stick breaking or someone whispering. If they're right next to you and you're trying to keep really, really quiet, it's a little bit easier to hear because it's amplified into the speaker on the inside. Now, the noise canceling end of that is if you have a noise such as a hand grenade or something like that go off next to you, if you reach above the 85 decibel threshold, which is OSHA compliance for hearing protection, it cuts out the speaker completely. And 100 decibel Thunderbee going off right next to you, it's going to cut that out and it's going to reduce it below that, near or below that 85 decibel point, which makes it hearing safe. Now, like I said, this could work for firearms, however, because a real gun is somewhere in the 160, 168, even 170 decibel range. It's not going to quite be enough protection for that, at least in my opinion. I would personally run double hearing protection or just a set of earplugs when I shoot real guns. These are not quite to that level. If they were maybe 25 to maybe even 27 or 28, 30 would be really nice for real firearms, but these are just a little bit inadequate for that. Even still, I think it works great, absolutely great for the airsoft setting or the average airsofter. These are going to be perfect for a pyrotechnic grenade going off next to you. So another thing that I like about the Opsmen M32 is the batteries. So it takes two AAA batteries inside the tubes right here, and they have two caps on the back here that are just knurled, so you can do it completely toolless. The other Z-Tacks that I have there, it runs off of two AA's, which are heavier. They're all mounted on the one side, so it's not balanced correctly. And it requires a screwdriver to get the battery compartment uncovered. In addition to that, these have an O-ring to make sure that you don't get dust or water or something like that inside the battery cover. Those Z-Tacks have nothing. It's just a plastic door. Or you're lucky if you don't get something in there. Like I said, those Z-Tacks crapped out after running them in a handful of games. These Opsmen are going strong. So as far as being a step up from the Z-Tacks in durability, these Opsmens are good to go. So next thing I want to talk about is the Opsmen PTT, or push to talk. So this one is specific for the Baofeng. It has the Kenwood 2-pin connector on it, so it's the one small and the one larger one. It's got a really nice audible click. I'm sure you guys can hear that just fine, but it's a nice audible click so you know when you've actually pushed the button and when it actually releases. The spring's not super stiff. It's not really difficult to press. It's got enough resistance to it, but it's not going to be accidentally pressed. I was worried about that when I first got this, but it's not a problem at all for me. You can see it's got the Earmor logo and stuff on there. Oops, it's upside down. You can see the Earmor logo and the name right there. You can also see these two little brass threaded inserts. What that's for is the back here has this clip, which allows you to clip the molly or the cover of a pouch or something like that. You just take the two screws out inside that and you can flip it over to the other side. I ran it just as is, as it comes out of the box. It was perfectly fine. I'm going to try flipping it to the other side because normally when I index a push-to-talk, I use my pointer finger on my left hand, so I mount it somewhere like this. With this clip sitting over here, I've had to mount it either with the button facing up, the button facing down, or I've just had to deal with using my thumb. For me, it's just a simple comfort thing, but Opsmen gives you the opportunity to flip it however you want. The only thing that I wish that this would have is Velcro. It'd be much easier to just Velcro it onto my plate carrier than it would be to have this clip. But I appreciate the clip because it allows me to stick it into a molly loop or onto the side of a pouch. So take that for what it's worth. So another cool feature, or I should say accessory, for the Opsmen PTT is it has this connector in the bottom of the push-to-talk. It's got some threads in it, so they have an optional finger button. So you just insert it, you thread it into place, so that way it doesn't accidentally come out if you stretch your arm too far or something like that. And it comes with a little Velcro wrap, and it's a remote push-to-talk. So if you wanted to have it on the end of your hand or maybe on at the base of the pistol grip for your rifle, in your right hand or left hand, depending on you left-handers, they give you the option for that as well. This was an additional accessory that I had picked up for it, and I have not had the chance to use it yet, but I think it's really interesting, and it's an option for those that may be looking for a different type of comm setup. You can still use the push-to-talk sitting right here when you have this plugged in, but it gives you kind of a remote way to access your radio. For instance, if you don't want to give away too much movement when you're in the brush, I don't feel it as much of a concern, but like I said, I ran it without it and been just fine. But if you would want to use it, the option is available. Now that we've covered all the good things and I think the good features about the Opsmen, time to talk about the bad. So the first problem that I've noticed about the Opsmen is whenever I plug it into other push-to-talks, particularly Z-Tacks, because that's all I have, when I plug it into a Z-Tack push-to-talk, it gives me this horrible screeching and interference noise. I had two different ones. I tried it with both of them. The one didn't even work. So I was resorted to having to buy the Opsmen push-to-talk. Now I was planning on buying it anyway for this review, but it would have been nice that even though it comes with the standard 7mm NATO style plug, which that's what it looks like, even though it comes pre-hooked up for that, I had to use the Opsmen push-to-talk in order to operate the headset. Now, could it be that the Opsmen is amplified, has an amplifier built into it? I know some people, in order to use real MSA sort-ins or contacts or what have you, they've had to add additional amplification into their push-to-talk in order to get it to work correctly. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. All I had to test were the Z-Tacks. So I was forced to having to use the Opsmen. I know the budget-minded guys are going to kind of groan, I have to buy another push-to-talk, but Opsmen does have all the big plugins. So Kenwood, Motorola, both sets of Motorola's, ICOM, and I think even Midland for the push-to-talk. So you can get the push-to-talk in whatever you want. However, from what I found, you have to use the Opsmen push-to-talk in order for it to work. Otherwise, you get this really strange interference in the speakers. So you might have seen another issue while I was showing you the different features. Is you can see that this boom mic doesn't want to stay in place very well. Well, it's a plastic clip right here that clips onto the also plastic cup hanger, and the tightness on that, it's got some play in it. So it allows it to kind of swing freely. Now, Eric duct taped his in place. I found that when I wear my Revision Desert Locust, I can tuck it sort of under the corner of the eyepiece, and it doesn't move at all. I don't know, it could be a concern for some people, but I kind of like it, the fact that you can just kind of flop it out of the way. The problem with this, though, is it was that way out of the box. So I expected that to be kind of tight to kind of hold its position a little bit, but not the case. So it's a downside. The boom mic is easy to move, and I found that when I switched it over to the other side, same thing. So it must be an issue with the tolerance between the plastic clip and the hanger where it sits on. Something I've noticed while running this is I get a white noise every time I transmit. So every time I hit the push-to-talk on my vest, I hear this kind of white noise going on in the speakers. And as soon as I release it, it goes away. I don't know what's causing it. I don't know if the radio frequency is interfering with what's going on in the headset. I really don't know. But that can be kind of annoying for some people, and I'm sure it's kind of shows what the true quality of the electronics is. Now, Eric has found that if you turn the speakers off, as in you're not using the amplification, that you don't have that white noise problem, and it still allows you to transmit and receive just fine. So that's certainly an option, although it feels like a wasted feature if you're not using it. In addition to that, the interference is amplified whenever you increase the sound level. So I have a feeling it's something with the electronics that are inside the ear, whether it doesn't like something or whether it's catching outside interference in the microphone or something like that. I'm not sure. But hearing white noise when you're trying to transmit, it's not the best thing. At the same time, this is a Chinese product, so it's not saying that it is going to be the worst condition, but it's not surprising given the price point that it's at. Speaking again about the electronics, for some reason, occasionally it likes to flare up with some static or squealing or squelching. inside the headset. And that can be irritating to some people's ears to the point where you may have to peel the headset off in order to give it a rest or reset it. This happened to both Eric and Matt. Our Matt, not Amped Matt. It happened to both of those guys, and it's happened to me intermittently, where in order to fix it, you have to power down the headset and then power it back on, or just leave it off. There's something in the electronics that's just not quite 100%. So as far as a budget option, you know, it's one of those you get what you pay for kind of things. These headsets are between $50 and $60. So you're not going to get the $300 sort-in MSA Comtax type thing. You just can't expect it from a product like this. What are my overall impressions about the Opsmen? Truthfully, I think these are a good choice compared to Z-Tacs. The problems I had with the Z-Tacs are they just weren't quite loud enough or very uncomfortable. This addresses both of those, although it creates a couple more with the subpar or lower quality electronics that are inside. And then of course this boom mic thing gets annoying to play around with. So while I think it's a better option for people compared to purchasing Z-Tacs, it still has some issues. Now, I was actually in the middle of writing up the notes for this review while watching Amped Airsoft Asked Amped episode 69, and they mentioned these Earmor headsets. They also mentioned that someone from Gun Gamers, this guy, stopped by their store and told them about these type of headsets. So I'm glad that Amped was able to get these headsets to be able to sell them, because honestly, they're kind of tough to come by. They're non-existent on Amazon. It's real hard to kind of find them overseas. So now that Amped has them, it's kind of nice to have a local US-based distributor to be able to purchase these. But I'm glad that I was the first to be able to do this review. This has been sort of a long time coming. Ever since Operation Faded Giant in November last year, I'd been looking for a new headset, and this just came out just at the perfect time. But going back to the Asked Amped episode where they discuss this, I 100% agree with Matt's opinion. Nobody makes a mid-level headset. You have these knockoffs or clones that are hovering in the $50, $60, $70 range, and then you make a big jump to $300, $400 real steel ones. Nobody makes that $100 to $150 headset that I guarantee you, if Code Red or Prime or any of those guys that do really good quality like speaker mics and other in-ear headsets, if someone was to come out, if one of those two was to come out with an over-the-ear headset, price it at $100 to $150, I think it would fly off the shelf and be highly successful, because the electronics are going to be better. And truthfully, if you take the lessons from the lower quality clones and this Opsmen, I think you could have a really, really stellar product for airsoft. The comfort level on this is absolutely fantastic. Like I said earlier, these are really comfy to wear for really, really long periods of time. They fit under helmets no problem, so you don't have to get the helmet mount, which can run $90 to $100 for the Opsmen headset with the two helmet brackets. So I would say that this should be a challenge for the airsoft industry to be able to find something that is a step up from this. While this is definitely a good choice, it still has some problems. And I think that it still has, if you rounded out a lot of those issues and make it durable, budget friendly, or a little bit more on the premium end as far as cost, I think you can have a product that runs away. Flies off the shelves, no problems, perfect for airsoft, truthfully. As far as the Opsmen M32 or the Earmor M32 headset is concerned, I think it's a great choice compared to buying a clone or a lesser quality Chinese headset, like those cheap ones that come with your radios. I think this is definitely a good choice to pick up. But it's not without its flaws. And I think if folks understand that, it's going to be, they can make a smart decision. So a bunch of us are still going to keep running these. We're going to see, if any, where the failure point is. However, in the two big games that I ran it at, haven't had any problems sweat or rain through this at all. So I would definitely recommend the Opsmen Earmor M32s. I really would. Now, there's some electronic interferences, sure, but these are really comfy to wear, and I don't have to turn my radio up really loud to hear people. If you like this review and want to see more, feel free to subscribe, like, share, favorite, all that stuff here on YouTube, and you'll see us come out with more reviews on things like this or other airsoft products. So I'm Garrett from Gun Gamers, and I'll see you around.